The origins of humanity lie far beyond the reach of written history, in a period where no records exist and no voices were preserved. Yet, despite this absence of direct testimony, the story of the first humans can be reconstructed through careful scientific investigation. Over the past century, discoveries in paleoanthropology, archaeology, and genetics have transformed our understanding of human beginnings. Fossil remains, stone tools, and traces of early habitation have revealed a long and complex process of development stretching back millions of years. But this was not a sudden emergence, but a gradual evolution. Early hominids adapted to changing environments, developed new ways of moving, began to use tools, and eventually altered their surroundings in increasingly sophisticated ways. Welcome to History Impact. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. We post every week and we welcome any feedback. Human evolution is generally accepted to have begun in Africa, where the environmental conditions played a significant role in shaping early hominid development. Between approximately 5 and 2 million years ago, climatic fluctuations led to the expansion of savanna landscapes and the reduction of dense forests. These environmental changes created new adaptive pressures. Species that had previously relied on arboreal habitats were increasingly required to navigate open terrain. It was within this context that the early hominins emerged. One of the most significant early groups was Australopithecus, which appeared around 4 million years ago. Fossil evidence suggests that these hominins exhibited a combination of traits. They retained adaptations for climbing, such as curved fingers, but also demonstrated clear evidence of bipedal locomotion. Bipedalism represented a fundamental shift in human evolution. Walking on two legs altered the structure of the pelvis, the spine, and the lower limbs. It also freed the hands for carrying objects and eventually tool use. While the precise causes of bipedalism remain debated, it is widely regarded as a critical adaptation that influenced all subsequent changes of human evolution. The earliest known stone tools date to approximately 2.6 million years ago and are associated with the older one technological tradition. These tools were relatively simple, typically consisting of sharp flakes produced by striking one stone against another. Despite their simplicity, older one tools represented a significant cognitive development. Their production required an understanding of cause and effect, as well as the ability to select appropriate raw materials. Early hominins used these tools for a variety of purposes, including cutting meat, processing plant materials, and breaking bones to access marrow. The emergence of tool use marked a transition from passive adaptation to active environmental modification. Early humans were no longer solely dependent on naturally available resources. They began to manipulate their surroundings in increasingly deliberate ways. The genus Homo emerged approximately 2 million years ago. One of the earliest species within this group, Homo habilis, is often associated with early stone tool industries, although tool use may have originated amongst earlier hominins. However, it was Homo erectus that represented a major evolutionary development. Appearing about 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus exhibited a number of significant changes, including a larger brain, more modern body proportions, and greater endurance for long distance travel. This species is also associated with the Antediluvian tool tradition, characterized by more sophisticated implements such as hand axes. These tools required a higher degree of planning and skill to produce, indicating further cognitive advancement. In addition to technological developments, Homo erectus likely engaged in more complex social behaviors. Although direct evidence is limited, patterns of tool distribution and site organization suggest a degree of cooperation and shared activity. The controlled use of fire represents one of the most important developments in early human history. Evidence suggests that hominins began using fire at least several 100,000 years ago, with some indications of earlier, possibly controlled use approaching 1 million years ago. Fire provided multiple advantages. It offered warmth in colder environments, protection from predators, and a reliable source of light. Perhaps most significantly, it enabled the cooking of food. Cooking had profound biological and social implications. It made food easier to digest and increased calorific intake, which may have supported further brain development. It also likely contributed to changes in social organization as groups gathered around shared fire sources. For much of the early human history, hominins were confined to the African continent. However, Homo erectus was the first species to expand beyond Africa, reaching parts of Asia and Europe by approximately 1.8 million years ago. These migrations were not rapid or coordinated. Instead, they occurred gradually over many generations, driven by environmental change, population pressure, and a search for resources. As humans entered new regions, they encountered a wide range of climatic conditions. Adaptation to these environments required both biological and cultural responses. Over time, regional variations emerged amongst different populations. During the later stages of human evolution, multiple human species coexisted. Amongst the most well known are the Neanderthals, who inhabited Europe and parts of Western Asia. Neanderthals were well adapted to cold climates with robust bodies and advanced tool technologies. Archaeological evidence suggests that they engaged in complex behaviors, including burial practices and possibly symbolic expression. Another group, the Denisovans, are known primarily through genetic evidence, but appear to have occupied parts of Asia. Genetic studies indicate that interbreeding occurred between these groups and modern humans, contributing to the genetic diversity of our present day populations. Modern humans, classified as Homo sapiens, first appeared in Africa approximately 300,000 years ago. Early Homo sapiens shared many anatomical features with contemporary humans, including a more rounded skull and reduced bridge rod. Initially, Homo sapiens coexisted with other human species. However, over time they became the dominant and ultimately the only surviving human species. Around 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, Homo sapiens began to migrate out of Africa. These migrations led to the rapid spread of humans across the globe. Within tens of thousands of years, humans had reached Australia, Europe, and eventually the Americas. The reason for the success of Homo sapiens are complex and not really fully understood. Possible factors include advanced cognitive abilities, flexible social structures, and the capacity for symbolic communication. One of the defining characteristics of Homo sapiens is the development of symbolic behavior. This includes the use of language, art, and symbolic objects. Archaeological evidence for such behavior became more prominent in the archaeological record around 40,000 years ago, particularly in Eurasia, although earlier evidence does exist in Africa. These developments indicate a significant shift in cognitive ability. Humans were no longer interacting with their environment solely in practical terms, they were also interpreting and representing it symbolically. Language likely played a central role in this process. Although direct evidence for early language is limited, the complexity of human social organization suggests that some form of advanced communication had developed. By the end of the last ice age, approximately 12,000 years ago, human societies began to undergo significant changes. The development of agriculture marked a transition from nomadic lifestyles to more settled forms of living. This transition, often referred to as the Neolithic Revolution, led to the establishment of permanent settlements, population growth, and eventual emergence of complex societies. While this period lies beyond the earliest stages of human development, it represents the culmination of processes that began millions of years earlier. The biological and cultural foundations established by early humans made these later developments possible. The history of the first humans is characterized by gradual change rather than sudden transformation. Over millions of years, small adaptations accumulated, leading to significant developments in anatomy, behavior, and culture. From the emergence of bipedalism to the development of tools, the control of fire, and the spread across continents, early humans demonstrated an increasing capacity to adapt and innovate. The appearance of Homo sapiens marked a critical stage in this process, particularly with the development of symbolic thought and complex social structures. Although much about early human history remains uncertain, ongoing research continues to refine our understanding. New discoveries in genetics and archaeology are providing increasingly detailed insights into how humans evolved and how they came to inhabit nearly every part of the world. In a sense, the study of the first humans is not only an exploration of a distant past, but also an ongoing process of discovery, one that continues to shape our understanding of what it means to be human.